May, the fact that Donald Trump called me a nasty person. Oh, what a red badge of honor that would be. Hi everyone. It's Emil Amok's Takeout. I'm the aforementioned Emil Amok. My takes on all things considerable right here, Monday through Friday. I said I wasn't going to watch it. And what did I do? I watched it. There, I'm coming clean. Well, I mean, I didn't watch the first basketball game. I did watch the big one, the Dubs, the Warriors, and the Lakers. But being on the West Coast, the town hall in New Hampshire was on at a reasonable hour, like 4 o'clock, 4:30, something like that. So I had to watch it. And it's a town hall. It's for everyone. It's a come one, come all. Especially if you want to clap and cheer Donald Trump, apparently. I mean, if I were to have a town hall, I would have wanted it in a kind of neutral kind of place because the audience fed into Trump. And here's my bottom line take is that was like the Trump zombie show. You thought we'd gotten rid of the ex-president. No, he's coming back. And he's coming back with a vengeance, and he's coming back like he's stalking us, and he's not going away, and he's saying the same things. It is the Trump zombie show. It's a Trump because he says, I didn't lose. That was a rigged election. He may not accept the next set of election results, 2024. He wouldn't say one way or the other. He didn't say anything about abortion. He claims that he's responsible for reversing the Dobbs decision that reversed Roe v. Wade, but then he won't say if he's going to sign a permanent ban on abortion. I mean, Donald Trump singing the same song, which reminded me of, that for people of a certain age, this would be maybe an earworm thing. Do you remember Herman's Hermits? I'm Henry VIII. I mean, it's appropriate coming out of the big coronation last weekend, but, second verse, same as the first. That's what Peter Noon, Herman of Herman's Hermits sang. I thought of that. Second verse, same as the first. Here's Donald Trump. He wants to be president again. So I tried to avoid it, but I couldn't. I was sucked in by people who said, oh, what is CNN doing? Are they out of their minds? No, CNN actually, I think you could say cynical things like they're trying to court a right-wing audience at a time when the right-wing audience is trying to figure out where they're going to go because they don't like Fox. Not after the Tucker Carlson thing. But I think CNN was perfectly fine to invite Trump to do a town hall. Like I said, initially I was thinking, oh, this is not a good idea. What are they doing? Giving life to Donald Trump? Donald Trump has a lot of life. Regardless, it's like you think he should be dead. You think it should be over. 35 indictments not enough. A civil judgment, $5 million against him. Sexual abuse, liability. He's not dead. He keeps coming at you. Keeps stalking us. And here's the problem. People still love him. There's still a core group of people who still embrace him. You saw them cheering. Yes, that I think probably was the most disgusting thing. Instead of a man who just comes out of a civil case, right? Branded liable for sexual abuse, awarded or told to pay a $5 million reward to a woman who has sued him for sexual abuse, for battery, sexual battery and defamation. He loses on all points. He's told that the plaintiff has been awarded $5 million, he must pay. And there's Donald Apparently, we did not deal with that. Oh, still having some technical difficulty. Yes, the closet is having a little difficulty. I'll rub my gong. There. Stream continues. So it was disappointing to see what is going on in our country. And, I go back to what I said yesterday. We can have the better world. It's not like in a better world, the fact that Donald Trump is running and he's this craven, this guy who's just been found liable for battery, sexual battery, and defamation. Yeah, that's not presidential material. And the journal says, in a better world, it would matter. Well, it should matter. We are in a better world. We're in a better world just by saying we want to be in a better world. We do not have to have Donald Trump as the leader of the Republican Party, challenging Joe Biden to be president of the United States. We can have that better world, but for some reason, people don't want that better world. They'd rather have the polarized, debased world that exists in America in 2023. And the simple answer is you can have that better world. See, and part of me, that's why I wanted to not watch the town hall yesterday, because I thought, Trump's not in my world. I want a better world than that. But because the basketball game out in the West Coast was later, I said, okay, I'm free. Let me watch it. And I was really, really stunned and disappointed. Because I guess if there was going to be a different kind of Trump, or if there was going to be, I wasn't expecting a Trump who was going to come out penitent and changed by the experience of having been through a trial, his name brought through the mud. No, his name is brought through the mud. He loses the civil trial. And he says, yeah, now I'm perfect for America 2023. That was sad. That was sad. So from the very first word, right? He says, the election was rigged. He wouldn't back down off that lie. And then there were other lies, but I'm going to concentrate on this other lie. Well, first it was an attack. Caitlin Collins, I thought, did a very good job. She's a young female reporter. She's got impressive credentials now, White House correspondent. She did a good job during the Trump years. She got the plum assignment to be the moderator, the questioner. And I think she comes across, look, this is me saying this. I think Trump was a loser, although a lot of people think that, Trump won. He got the exposure. I think Caitlin Collins did a good job. She made a lot of news. She elicited a lot of news by getting answers out of Trump. And initially, I thought CNN did the wrong thing by having this. But what's wrong with controlling the news? Opening up your platform to a source who comes on and then makes news, is questioned by someone like Caitlin Collins, who does a good job. Here's where she earned her stripes. She got Donald Trump to call her a nasty person. Like I said, that was it. I can only wish that my final days, I can recall, oh, Donald Trump called me nasty. But I can't. I'll have to die saying, oh, Donald Trump didn't call me nasty. What's wrong with me? But Caitlin Collins, she was nasty. She was nasty in a good way, nasty in the way that a good journalist should be. She challenged. She wouldn't let Donald Trump get away with anything. She was practically fact-checking him in real time. And hats off to Caitlin Collins. I think if some people were still a little reluctant to say, oh, not Anderson Cooper, not Jake Tapper, not John King, not Dana Bash, not whomever, not Wolf Blitzer, no. They sent Caitlin Collins. She did well. I think CNN walks away doing very well. They had a good representative out there, and they did the right thing by offering someone like Trump that platform, because they were in control of everything. I mean, in terms of it was their show, CNN, people had to go to them as a source, and they got news. They made news. So it was self-serving for all the right reasons. But what it revealed was, I think it reveals just how low we are in our democracy today. When the front runner for one of the two major parties is this, can we call him a pathological liar? He's a liar. I mean, he still won't accept, the election results of 2020. And it's going to be the same old thing. He hasn't learned. And he hadn't learned anything from the E. Jean Carroll trial, because I listened to the tape again. I think he defamed her again. After losing a defamation case, he defamed her again. Made fun of her. Made fun of all women who, not just women who have been victims, although I thought about them. I mean, how do you lose a case on sexual abuse and then come out of it and deny that you even know the woman who's making the charges? A bold-faced lie. How do you do that unless you really have no regard at all for women? And the question was asked, well, what do you do about female voters? Well, I don't know what Donald Trump does about female voters, but there are some female voters out there who are cheering him on. That concerns me. So, this being a show that we focus on Asian Americans, there was one thing that Caitlin Collins asked him about the documents case in Mar-a-Lago. And what did Trump do? Trump brings up Chinatown. He did it a number of times. And why does he do this? Trump brings up Chinatown because there were some documents in a box in an office that Biden had in Chinatown. Now, here's the thing. Trump brings it up not because he knows anything, but he knows he wants to smear Biden. Because one of the issues coming up now that the Republicans are looking into. And it's really the work of the House Oversight Chair, James Comer, looking into Hunter Biden and the family business. And apparently there was some family business between Hunter Biden and some Chinese companies. It's in a 36-page report that's been bouncing around in Congress since April. And Trump has been using, that fact that, here's Biden and he's Hunter Biden, not Joe. Here's Hunter Biden. He's got this business with these Chinese people. And it just happens to coincide when there's, our number one enemy right now, nemesis, isn't necessarily Vladimir Putin, but it's President Xi and China. And this is something that we should be concerned about. Because when it came to the documents case, Joe Biden had the documents in an office in Chinatown. Perfect opportunity for Donald Trump to bring up Hunter Biden and his Chinese business connections. Does it have any connection at all with Joe Biden, President Joe Biden? No, it doesn't. It's a separate matter. But Donald Trump thinks it matters. It doesn't. And people who look at it should I call them responsible people? Responsible people on the right talk about this report, and they say the report shows the Biden family profiting from Joe Biden's political power. But even the Wall Street Journal admits that there's no connection to the president. What Hunter Biden does in his business dealings. The journal says payments from Chinese nationals are also a familiar way that the Communist Party has tried to compromise America's political class. There may not be a smoking gun. This is the bottom line. There may not be a smoking gun, but there's plenty of suspicious smoke worth investigating. Well, that's funny. So investigate the rumor, even though there's no fact there, even though there's no smoking gun. They're searching for an issue to connect Hunter Biden to Joe Biden. And the best the Republicans and the best that Donald Trump can do is connecting Chinatown. Because Joe Biden had an office at one point in Chinatown where some of those boxes of classified material, presidential materials, were kept and returned. I mean, there's a big difference between what Joe Biden did and what Donald Trump did. Donald Trump ignored a subpoena. Donald Trump tried to hide classified documents. Joe Biden, once he found out that he had the documents, he gave them back. I mean, it was not a matter of I'm going to try to hide these. So it really is an apples to oranges kind of case. You can't compare Donald Trump handling of the documents, Joe Biden's handling of the documents. But that's what Donald Trump tried to do at the town hall. And he used Chinatown as the bridge. Kind of disgusting, really. But this is what we have to look forward to. I've got more to write or to say about this in my ALDEF column tomorrow. So read it in the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund, their website, aaldef.org/blog. I'll put it up there. But to see Donald Trump maneuver in this way was disgusting. I mean, not like there were other things that Donald Trump said, like, the way he both sided Ukraine and Russia. because, you know, he didn't want to call Vladimir Putin a killer because you say, oh, yeah, you call him you say he's the culprit, and then how are you going to negotiate? I mean, it's just, look, it's black and white. You know, Putin's a bad guy. Ukraine is a good guy. It's not, but to see Donald Trump try to both sides it, I'm just trying to stop the killing on both sides, was unusual. Of course, he said some stuff about January 6th, saying, essentially saying he would pardon many of the people who have been convicted. He said, oh, it's case by case, but the sympathy came out for the rioters, the insurrectionists. And then related to today's story about Title 42, he said, well, you know, he took pride in separating families. He said, you know, separating families means that stops people from coming over, which I don't think is necessarily true. But we're going to have a problem after today at midnight when Title 42 goes away, and we've got to figure out how to deal with our broken immigration system. So, yeah, let's put Trump to bed. I'll address more about that Chinatown slur in my column on the LDEF blog tomorrow. And we'll talk about that. But basically, what you need to know about it is it was Trump's way of trying to connect Hunter Biden with Joe Biden. Hunter Biden is dealings with China and Joe Biden. They are not connected. But Donald Trump wants to put that out there to make the connection because one word, xenophobia. Xenophobia works in a divided American politics. And that's kind of the game plan in 2024, unless some Republican looks at what happened yesterday at that town hall and says, you know, Donald Trump is not only dangerous, but he's beatable. Because he really was like a zombie. It was a zombie show. Repeating things from the 4 years of his administration, like, oh, those are the best years in America. I don't think so. No, not by a long shot. All right, so now let's talk about the immigration thing. I don't know what's going to happen. Title 42 goes away, so the whole process by which people are sent away, now it goes back to the old way, which I believe is Title 8 or something, and where people come in and they have papers that say, yeah, I am legally allowed to ask for asylum or ask for admission. They get processed. It's not an immediate U-turn, but there's a process that could take days, weeks, some time. They take a number, and then where do they stay? Now you have a humanitarian crisis because you have people at the border, and you don't exactly have the capability of dealing with them all. So Congress is kind of useless. They have passed some kind of immigration package that looks like they're doing something in the House. It has no effect yet. It's going to go to the Senate, has no way of passing the Senate. But as they always like to say in politics, at least it's a first step. To what exactly, I'm not sure, but it is a first step. And maybe if things get really so bad down there on the border, it'll make people on both sides see that it's the humanitarian way to bring us together, to try to deal with this, that it's the right way to come up with some kind of bipartisan solution. Because whatever they pass in the House, and they pass something by like a 219 by 213 vote, it passes the House, goes to the Senate, doesn't pass, it's going to take some time before they can move quickly to deal with what's happening down there in Brownsville as of midnight. But it's going to be a challenge, and I think it's going to have some old legislators kicking themselves for not dealing with this earlier. Like 10 years earlier, they had a chance. They had a bipartisan immigration package that was all set, but politics got in the way again. Maybe there'll be enough pain on both sides, and they'll see that something has to be done. We'll watch it. It doesn't sound good. I saw some stories, people coming on trains all night from Venezuela, trying to beat this deadline. Of course, if you come from immigrant stock, Asian, European, it's gotta hit you. It's the same lure, the same feeling that our parents had when they came here. That's what these people are looking for, opportunity. They're not looking to get exploited by the coyotes on the border. They're not looking to be exploited by the politicians. But they've been a political football for the last, we haven't had meaningful immigration reform in decades. That's how long it's been a functional political football in the, right now. Immigration has always been an issue, though. 50 years? Oh, let's go back further. 100 years. 1920s, 1890. I mean, we've had to deal with this. It's not impossible to solve. It just seems that way when people are intransigent, don't want to budge. Now it looks like this it's a backup at the border. It's like we can't ignore it anymore. You can't kick it down any road. You can't say like a can you kick down. You just can't do it. You got to deal with it. Let's see what they do. Not holding my breath. All right, now this also coincides, the timing of this. They are getting, the pandemic is essentially over, right? So that's why Title 42 is going away. Well, what's it mean for everyone else, who's just dealing with where we are right now with the pandemic? Because apparently the health emergency has expired and we're looking for direction now, right? I mean, what is next? The national COVID-19 public health emergency expires today. And so this is a marker, not just if you're in the border, but if you're just anywhere living in America. So interesting article in the Chronicle. Bay Area epidemiologists, infectious disease experts, and public health officials agree that we are in a much better place now than when the emergency order was enacted by the former administration in March 2020. You remember March of 2020, when things just sort of like, what's going on? However, it's too soon to declare closure, according to this article. Dr. Bob Wachter, the chair of the Department of Medicine at UCSF, says it no longer meets my definition of a pandemic. But he also said there's no lingo in epidemiology to accurately describe the ongoing threat from the virus that has subsided but remains a threat. Nobody has quite invented that word, Wachter said. And that's kind of important. You got the doctors at UCSF saying, well, I don't know what this means. So even though I'm sort of out of my closet and back out there, I'm going to wear a mask still in certain circumstances. And I'm going to be cautious. So we're in this new chapter. World Health Organization said the worst part of the global coronavirus pandemic is over. Deaths in the U.S. at the lowest since March of 2020. But look at the numbers. More than 1.13 million people in the U.S. have died from COVID-19 over the past 3 years. God, I can't even believe that number as I say it. 1.13 million. Including 1,100 people in the week ending May 3rd. So just last week we had over 1,100 people die. We have millions of others who are suffering from long-term effects. And so you tell me if it's over. I mean, the last year and a half, I haven't used it as an excuse, but I have relied on my fear of COVID to pretty much curtail much of my activity. I mean, it's why I do this over the internet as opposed to live, but I have gone to some live shows. Haven't gone to movies yet. Haven't gone back to movies. I've been to the theater because I was in a show. But and also I got the latest booster. I've got 6 shots in me. 6 COVID shots in me. So I should be okay, but I'm still cautious. Here's what Matt Willis, public health officer from Marin County, said. He said, we're in between what it was as a global emergency and what it will become, a predictable endemic disease. That phase is unsettling because it's still unpredictable and we need to keep an eye on it. Yeah, well, what's that say? When the experts and their spokespeople don't know, I think it's a clue to keep your eye on the ball. I think it's a clue to keep your awareness level high, which means mask on, which means distance when possible, or stay home. Last week, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said that COVID-19 was still the 4th leading cause of death in the U.S. in 2022. And it is unlikely to give up that position this year. Over 40,000 Americans, mostly older adults and the immunocompromised, have died of the disease since January. The virus is still around, said Yvonne Maldonado, a professor of global health and infectious disease at Stanford. But she emphasized that people can't live in, quote, emergency mode forever, and it makes sense to downgrade the response now that tools are widely available to curb the worst outcomes of the disease for most Americans. She says we have preventive measures, we have surveillance, we have treatments, and we have vaccines, which alone were responsible for saving millions of lives. Yes, and I got 6 of them. I got 6. But, even scientists say antibody protection from vaccine or previous illness fades over time, leaving people vulnerable to reinfection. So stay on your toes, people. I mean, that really is the best advice. Stay on your toes. It's be aware. I don't know if we ever could feel safe. I mean, really 100% safe. I don't know. All right, one of the other stories that happened over the last 24 hours. My view on Dianne Feinstein, right? I mean, I like Dianne Feinstein. I know she's old. She's 89. She's getting in the way of some judicial appointments, but she went back to work. Her shingles aren't totally over. She's still having feeling some of the effects of her case of shingles. She's in a wheelchair when she rolled in back to work. But there was a report in Politico, and it's just people now are starting to talk about it. I think this is where my view has been Dianne Feinstein has been a good public servant for a long time. She deserves the opportunity to call her exit in the way she wants. Now, of course, she's a politician, self-serving politician. So she also wants to make sure that her leaving will maybe not overtly show that she has a hand in picking her successor, but by saying she's going to stick it out and run the term out, she does. Because if she were to resign today, then Gavin Newsom would have to live up to his promise and appoint a black female to fill Dianne Feinstein's spot. And that black female probably would be Congresswoman from Oakland, Barbara Lee. And of course, all the Barbara Lee supporters are saying, get Feinstein out. Chief among them, Barbara Lee supporters, like the congressman from the San Jose area, the progressive, he's out there. He runs Barbara Lee's campaign, kind of transparent there. But fortunately, I think Dianne Feinstein is still at it. She can still vote, and maybe some of that backlog of judges will be abated, even though she's still suffering somewhat from shingles. But this report in Politico is interesting because staffers are telling stories about Dianne Feinstein. And I've heard the stories for the last couple of years. It alarmed me, but as long as they had faithful staffers, because staffers do most of the work, I felt that she was able to still be... Oh, that's Dianne Feinstein. What does she want? Sorry, Dianne. Sorry. I don't know who that is. So, what is that? So we have this situation, okay, where people are talking, and it's sad because you're going to see these stories, and they're not going to be terribly complimentary. Like this one story that appeared in Politico today. And it goes like this. Oh, something's happening. Okay. So Ben Terrace wrote, he said about a year earlier, Feinstein had approached Senator Tim Scott, stuck out her hand, and told him she had been rooting for him and was so happy to have him serving with her in the Senate. It was obvious to Scott and the staffers in tow that Feinstein had mistaken the South Carolinian for Raphael Warnock, the newly elected Democratic senator from Georgia. Now this is what's not nice. Scott played along. He said, "Thank you so much," he told Feinstein. According to the staffer who told me about the incident, "Your support means a lot." So that's kind of nasty a little bit, huh? I mean, if someone had some compassion, they would say, "Hey, look, this is, I'm not Raphael Warnock. I'm Tim Scott." Tim Scott, of course, is Republican. And it's just sad because you're going to see more of these stories come out. I wish that wasn't the case, but I think it's true. We're going to see more of these. And that's going to be the thing that moves against Dianne Feinstein. I wish that weren't the case, but I think that's going to happen. And so, mark my word, I think there's going to be a number of stories like that. I mean, I've heard a number of these stories over the years. Many of the people were too compassionate and wouldn't say anything. I mean, and some are coming out as anonymous quotes now from senators. I mean, there's stories in the last year that are coming out against Dianne Feinstein. And I think at some point it will be up to Dianne Feinstein to say, okay, and then that's her decision. I just think she has served the country and served the state far too long that she deserves to go out on her own. She doesn't deserve to be pushed out or shamed out. She should be able to say, all right, look, I'll leave on my terms. Or she'll say, she'll have to come to the realization that she can't do the job and now she must leave. Or set a deadline, make the votes, don't last till the term ends, but allow for Gavin Newsom to make the appointment. Oh yeah, it's Ro Khanna. I forgot, that's his name, the guy from San Jose. He's trying to make a name for himself. Unfortunately, he's trying to make a name for himself as an ageist, pushing out Dianne Feinstein. It wouldn't be the first time for Ro Khanna. He pushed out Mike Honda. He pushed out anyone who gets in his way. And that is called blind ambition. Or maybe not so blind, but ambition. And it's unfortunately not a pleasant trait for Ro Khanna. And truth be told, maybe for a lot of successful politicians. But I'm trying to show some compassion for Dianne Feinstein for the job she's done. I told my friends earlier that I've known Dianne Feinstein since I was a high schooler, covering Youth and Government Day. And I know that throughout my professional career, she's our paths have crossed. We shared a stage at a one at a graduation for Lowell High School as a commencement speaker. One time we were at the convention. We crossed paths, and she remembered me. Not sure if she would today, but I still respect her and what she's done, and I still say she deserves not to be pushed out, but she deserves to go out when she says she's ready. And I think if she understands that she may be getting in the way of some judicial appointments, I think she'll go. Or I think she'll make a better decision. Not based on selfishness, but based on the good of her constituents. So, there. I have a soft spot in my heart for Dianne Feinstein. Some lefty folks I know would say, Emil, why? What is wrong with you? Well, I just think that Dianne Feinstein has served. She served her people well. Until maybe, and when she can't, I think it should be up to her to say, okay, it's time to go. That's fair. I mean, it's not throw out the lady, throw out the old biddy. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying let her have her way. No, I'm just saying let's allow for some grace. She deserves it. All right, one final thing on the Warriors, because it's the headline. The NBA championships are always their big story. And now you got the East, the playoffs in the East. You got Miami and New York. You got the 76ers in Boston. You got on the West, you got Denver and Phoenix and the Lakers and the Warriors. It's exciting. And the Warriors winning Game 5. Well, a simple formula. I mean, you knew what had to happen. Oops, excuse me. You knew what had to happen. Someone other than Stephen Curry had to score. And when it was Draymond Green. Draymond Green doesn't score. He doesn't have to, right? Normally. Just plays defense and rebounds and brings the ball up. Doesn't have to score. But when he's in a position to score, he should. And how many times did you see Warriors who were right under the basket and they could score, pass up the basket and kick it out to go for a three, only to miss the high percentage shot? I saw that a lot. Maybe three times, 4 times. That's too many. 4 times, that's 8 points. The Warriors lost by 3 points the last time out. Think about all those missed free throws and missed layups. Or missed passed up shots underneath the basket or higher percentage shots, and then they kick it out to a 3-point shooter. So I was glad that Draymond took it upon himself to score. He did. I think he scored like 20 points. He usually doesn't. When Draymond hits a three, it's a good time, a good game, because then, he might hit a second three or a third three, and that's good. That's 9 points. He'll take it. But, Wiggins started playing more aggressively. That was needed. And Kevon Looney had his elbow get into the head of Anthony Davis, and sad. Wasn't a concussion, but it rocked Anthony Davis, and people think that, who knows? He's going to play, they say, but he could relapse. You never know. But he's been the best player on the Laker team. Still not a whole lot from Klay Thompson on the Warriors, and Poole, yeah. I like Poole. I want Jordan Poole to succeed, but I'd rather see him drive the lane and hit a layup, hit a high percentage shot, than standing out 30 feet away and trying a basket. Jordan Poole is so much better when he just takes the open lane and drives to the basket, getting a high percentage shot. He just needs to score 15 to 20 points. Because if he scored 15 points in game 4, the Warriors would be in a totally different position. He scored 0 that game. So the Warriors are back at home feeling well. Now they go back to Los Angeles, game 6. The Warriors are still down 3-2. I predict the Warriors will steal their road win, game 6. It'll be tied at 3-3. Then they come home, and then they demolish the Lakers at home. It was long. It was harder than it had to be. And then the Warriors have 1, maybe 2 more series to go for the championship. I'd like to see them do that. And then once they do, I'll be happy if they split up the team and bust it wide open. You know, take out some of the old parts, stick in some new parts. The only person who's not expendable is Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry still. He is a remarkable player. And we're blessed to be able to watch him play in this era. Just like, I feel blessed to have seen all the great NBA players in the past. Going back to, even before Bird and Magic. I'm talking about guys like the Celtics and John Havlicek and, the 76ers and Hal Greer. And I've been a long time basketball watcher, which is something considering how bad I am at basketball. But now I remember watching the Warriors when they played at Civic Auditorium, rooting for Nate Thurman and Wilt Chamberlain and Rick Barry. I want to see the Warriors win. I'd like to see them win. If they got to the finals, that'd be great. If they won, that'd be better. And I'm telling you, if they won again, I'd like to see the dynasty close on its own accord. Go out winners and then bust it up. Because after this year, no guarantee. Now you might say, as long as you have Curry, you can win. Yeah, but you need Curry and some new pieces. A new piece for Klay Thompson. A new piece for, Draymond Green. Do you break him? To give him away? In many ways, I want to give him away, but he does more without the ball sometimes than you think. He doesn't have to score. He's scoring now. So now he seems like, he's a decent player. But he does more without the ball, so you kind of need that. He brings the ball up. But I don't know. Jordan Poole for sure. I think I'd deal him. Now, he's only 23. You'd say, come on. A little young to bail out on Jordan Poole. Yeah, but if you can sell the upside for Jordan Poole for someone who is already really great, who can come in and help Stephen Curry and Draymond, and maybe Klay Thompson. I say maybe because I think Klay Thompson may be a piece that you can dangle out there. Break up the Splash Brothers because they're not splashing as much. So I think that's my deal with the devil. I want to see the Warriors win game 6 and 7 and then go on to the finals and win a final dynasty or final dynastic championship and then go out and then just end it on their own. Pull the plug and start a post-dynasty with Stephen Curry maybe Draymond, and other puzzle parts that you get by dangling out some of their older players or younger players. If you're ready to give up on Jordan Poole, I'm not quite. No, I think I am. See, I waver on Jordan Poole. When he makes it, you love him. But when he misses, forget it. Okay. That's it for today's show. Hey, join me Monday through Friday. I just come on and talk about the news right here on Twitter at amok.com. No, Twitter at Emil Amok, EMILAMOK. Replays are on amok.com. I post the replays. This is also on Facebook at FB, facebook.com/EmilGuillermo.media. Also on YouTube at Emil Amok1, EMILAMOK1. And then catch the replays, of course, on amok.com. Also, the column I'm going to write more about the Chinatown thing on the ALDEF blog, the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund. ALDEF, AALDEF.org/blog. And this is my secret podcast, right? I don't put it on the regular places where you get podcasts. But Emil Amok's Takeout, the podcast, is wherever you podcast. And I think there's an episode from a year ago. I haven't updated, but you should listen to it. I might start posting these on there. Maybe. All right. Oh, I like to meditate. I needed to meditate today, which is why I'm writing my column tomorrow, because I got so irritated by some stuff earlier this morning. I had to calm down. I had to breathe. I had to think of rabbits in the field. Actually, I think of Thich Nhat Hanh, and I like his 2-word meditations. On the in-breath, say free, or see space. On the out-breath, say free. So it's space, free. Space, free. Whenever you feel kind of hemmed in, you feel the space. And then we end with a loving kindness meditation. It's where you use these phrases to try to connect you to good feelings within yourself. Loving self-kindness, compassion. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Back tomorrow. Until then.